Welcome, everybody. Hello. Welcome to our bedroom. Not the place where I would have ever imagined we'd be teaching yoga from, but here we are, all of us in places we didn't imagine we would be. So we are going to share with you tonight one of our favorite practices, a little snippet of it at least, Thai yoga massage. And Amir, tell us what that is.
Well, yoga came up to Thailand from India however many thousands of years ago. It came up through the priests, and the priests changed yoga from something that you do to a healing practice. And so what they would do is they would actually perform what looks like yoga poses on the recipients as a healing mechanism. So we'll practice this. You need a partner today. You will actually be having someone doing yoga to you, and you will be doing yoga to someone with that. So if you don't have someone with you, take a moment and grab someone really quick. If you're quarantined all alone, this probably isn't the session for you, but you can watch and learn and watch everyone else.
Hi, Dina. So if you're on, let us know. Shoot us a quick hello and let us know where you're watching from. You don't need any special supplies for this. Our setup here is that we have 2 yoga mats laid out underneath 2 blankets that are spread on top of them. So we just laid out 2 yoga mats, and then we put blankets on top. But if you have a carpeted area in your house, then you're fine. You just need open space. We may have some guest appearances, which we already do. This is Laylee and Zara.
Yeah, cats are optional.
Cats are optional. Dogs, not so much. Mr. Prince is in his downstairs quarters for this because he's very vocal. Hi, Paula. Trying to get the teens to join. They will love it if they try it. Susan Cunningham, hello. You are our neighbor. Harriet and Bill in Falls Church. Hi, Eileen and Rick. Welcome. So glad you're here. So we'll just give everybody a couple of minutes to get settled. And one thing to remember, and Amir's going to remind us of this as we go forward, which is that when you're the giver, you do not need to use a lot of muscular effort. It's not like a digging in massage. You really just let your body weight sink into the receiver. And that's the way the energy is best transmitted, and they will receive the most out of it if you just let your body weight sink in. And that's all you need to know. The technique is simple and straightforward, and it really is a bonding experience. It's a beautiful connection. And when the giver is allowing the energy transfer to happen with ease, then the giver is getting as much out of it as is the receiver. And hi, Tracy. Couples yoga with my dog. Is that weird? No, we're all about the animals. Hi, Pat. Cat and dogs and wine. All of it is excellent. And whatever helps us get through these days. So we're going to go ahead and get started in a minute. Hi, Charlie from Seattle. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Okay. So decide who's going to be the giver and who is the receiver. I like to say that the first receiver is the person with the birthday that happens earliest in the year. So that's me. So receivers, come and lie on your belly, and givers kneel behind the receiver at their feet.
Okay. So we start at the feet, and the first thing you're going to do is take your partner's foot, and you can cross your legs or You have one leg out, whatever's comfortable for you if you're the person that's the practitioner, and have their feet facing you. And what you want to do is take your two thumbs right into the arch of their foot. And then what you're going to do is you're not going to press in with your muscles. You're just going to lean your body weight in forward so your thumbs sink into the arches. Then you move your thumbs about an inch forward or back or left or right. And you just keep doing this, moving your thumbs in different places in the arch of the midfoot. And we'll just do this for a little bit. I'm just going to feel all the different spaces in the arch. And I always like to think of this when you sink your thumbs into the arches of a foot. It's like molding clay. Like your thumbs are actually just kind of sinking in.
If you're the receiver and the pressure's too much or not enough, say so patiently, kindly. Just say a little less, a little more. And that communication is really good to establish up front.
Yeah. And notice, I'm just leaning my body weight in. I'm not using my arm strength or anything, just body weight in. And when I feel like it's sinking in enough, then you release. We got some kitties trying to get on the action here. So we'll finish that foot and we'll move over to the other foot. And it's the same thing. You just let your thumbs sink in, you lean forward, sink in and release. Lean in, sink, release. Lean in, sink, release. And when you're doing this, if you imagine how good this would feel for you, then you'll get the right touch, and how much pressure to put. And then if you pay attention to your partner, if you see them jump or scrunch up body parts, it means you're doing it too hard. But usually everyone likes this kind of deep. Okay, so after we finish that, what you're going to do is fold their knees, cross their ankles, and scoot up to the side. And what you're going to do is push their feet up towards their buttocks. Try not to catch the cat's tail. You do that a few times. Okay, we'll do that 3 times and then change the cross of their ankles. And then you just lean forward with your body weight, folding the knees as much as possible. And then we'll do that a 3rd time. And then pull the legs out and just sweep down the back of each leg 3 times. Down to the heels. Okay. The next we're going to work on the back. So what you're going to do is take a stance, take one leg over your partner's body like this. And then you're going to lean down, bring one hand on the floor, and then your hand that's over off to the side, the far side, you're going to take your hand right in the small of their lower back and have your elbow right into the inside of your knee. And then you lean forward, dropping your body weight down. Let your hand sink into the low back, and then you kind of spin your hand, let it sink, and then release. Walk your hand up another inch, lean in, sink, release. And then just continue walking your hand up. You have to scoot your foot up forward a little bit as you do this. And you work your way all the way up the side of the body until you get up to the shoulder blade. And then we'll come back to the bottom again. We'll do this again. We'll do 2 passes here. So you lean forward, sink your hand, spin, release. Lean in, sink, spin, release. And when you finish the second pass, you sweep down 3 times, reach over and pet the kitty, and switch over to the other side. So you just switch legs, your opposite leg is across their body. You can rest on one arm and then bring your far elbow against your leg and your hand into the lower back. You lean in, sink, spin your hand, release. Walk up a little bit, sink in, spin, release. Sink in, spin, release. And we'll work our way all the way up to the shoulder. Then we'll do another pass.
The receiver is well fed by breathing deeply. So, especially when you anticipate that the sinking is about to happen, try to coordinate that with a long, full exhale, which is a really nice way to receive the full effect.
And when you finish that side, you sweep 3 times down that side. And again, reach over, pet your kitty again for behaving. Okay. Now the next one is you want to actually sit on your partner's pelvis. It might look like it's a lot, but it's not, because they're used to carrying themselves up on their pelvis all the time anyways.
If you can sit on me, it works, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay. So the person that's receiving, you put your hands behind your head. Okay. And then the person that is the practitioner, take your hands right outside of their armpits. Don't get in their armpits, a little bit wider underneath their arms. And then together you both inhale, and on the exhalation, you lean back and bring them up into cobra pose. Inhale down, exhale back up, inhale down, and then exhale up a third time. And then you come back down, bring their hands down. And then what you do is take your hands and just start to squeeze right at the base of the shoulders and the neck. And get into the upper arms, just like you're squeezing a sponge, and get your thumbs to kind of dig in the side. And then you kind of squeeze around the neck. And this is kind of like a cat's paw, just kind of sweeping down and picking up, like you're picking up a kitten, like this. Okay, and then you sweep down the shoulders 3 times. And then, in Thai yoga, we have all these different ways of flipping people over. This one is called the PTO flip. And all you do is you say to your partner, please turn over.
It's my favorite.
Okay. So this is Zara. She's learning how to become a practitioner. That's why she's paying close attention.
Unfortunately, she sometimes tries to practice in the middle of the night on my face.
Yeah. Okay. This is Laylee. She's trying to be a receiver. Okay, so this next one I call the calf split. And the calf muscle in the back of the leg here, there's actually 2 sides to it. So what you want to do is you take your fingers like this, fingers in, and you want to kind of dig your fingers in and kind of pull the muscles apart. So you kind of like dig in, kind of wiggle around, and then kind of pull apart. And then you kind of walk down the calf doing the same thing. Just kind of feel for the split in the muscle and just wiggling it away. And a lot of times, some people like me, I play hockey, this area gets compartmentalized. And so this feels really good. So take a couple passes up and down the calf muscle. Okay. This next one I like to call the citrus press. It's kind of like, those things that you squeeze an orange with. You interlace your fingers, and then what you're going to do is pull the base of your hands together like you're squeezing citrus around the calf muscle, and then you pull it away from the bone. So you take it around the calf muscle, you squeeze the citrus, and you kind of wiggle the muscle away from the bone. And you kind of walk down the calf doing that. And we'll take a couple of passes on the leg like this. And after you finish that, just kind of sweep down the calf. Okay. And then next, we're going to do the same thing to the calf. So you citrus squeeze, you pull away from the bone, and you wiggle it around. Do a couple of passes down the thigh bone. Okay, and then at the end of that, you sweep down the thigh 3 times. Okay. Now this next one is really tricky. It's called the hurricane kick. So what you're going to do is slide back a little bit. And the leg you were working on, the knee stays bent. You're going to straighten the other leg on the ground. And then lift that knee up in the air. And then what you're going to do is let the leg drop out to the side and hook your foot into the fold of the knee. Okay, so the knee goes up, you bring your foot to the inside of the knee, and then you drop it out. So your foot kind of holds the leg in place, and your hand kind of pulls back on the foot, and so that whole leg stays in place. And then you grab the other ankle with your other hand, so now their legs are stable. And then your free leg is going to do the work. So what you do is take the ball of your foot right into the middle of their hamstring, the back of their thigh, and you push in, and then you slide your toes up towards the ceiling. So it makes the hamstring kind of slide upwards towards the ceiling. And then you walk your foot in a little bit, find a new place, and you do it again. And then we do it again. And you just walk your foot up the whole length of the hamstring. We'll do a couple of passes here. And really let the balls of your foot go right into the meat of the muscle and feel it pull up. Okay. And then the next part here is you take that bent knee and you bring it right up against their straight leg so the leg looks like it's tree pose. Zara's not going to like this one. So what you're going to do is you sit on the straight leg side and you bring your leg that's closest to their legs across and you fix your foot into the fold of the knee again. So this stays stable. And then what you do is grab their opposite arm. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lean back and bring them in a twist towards you.
For the receiver, it's going to be tempting to lift your head up here to help. But don't do it. Let your head be heavy and relaxed on the floor.
Yeah. So you just kind of lean back, pulling them into this. And the next phase of this is take your hand behind their shoulder and you kind of lean back from there. And then you can walk your hands down their back, down towards their hip, and then back up. So you get a nice long twist out of this. And then you let them roll on back. Okay. And then we'll work on the other leg. So bend their knee. This leg we're done with. Doesn't matter what you do with that. You can straighten it or bend it. But line yourself up behind their leg. Remember, we're going to do the calf split. So your fingers go behind the calf, finding the space between both sides of the muscle and just kind of pull them apart. Just kind of wiggle from side to side. And walk your fingers down the calf. And then back up. We'll do a couple of passes through here. Okay. And then part 2 of this is the citrus press. So you interlace your fingers and we're going to squeeze and pull away from the bone. So you interlace and you squeeze the calf muscle and pull away from the bone. We'll do a couple of passes down the calf muscle. Okay, and then after you do that, you just kind of sweep down a few times. And then we'll do the same thing to the thigh. So interlace your fingers and citrus squeeze the thigh muscle, wiggle it from side to side. We'll do a few passes through here. Okay, and then sweep down the thigh 3 times. Okay, then we're going to do the hurricane kick. So you lift that knee up, let it drop out to the side, and then bring your foot into the bend of the knee and hold onto their ankle with that hand. Make sure to hold on to the opposite ankle with your other hand. So now they're supported. And then you just lean in, you take the ball of your foot into their hamstring, you sink it in and slide it up. And then you walk in a little bit more, sink in and slide up. And really make sure that your ball of your foot gets caught right into the middle of the hamstring muscle. You want to create movement along that muscle. So we'll do several different passes here. Okay, and then we're going to do that diva twist again. Now, I'm going to have Annie switch around, but you at home stay where you are. I'm going to have her turn around so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so your leg is in tree pose. You take your leg that's closest to their feet across their legs and into the fold of their knee. Grab their opposite arm, and at first you just lean back, bringing them with you. And notice this takes them into a twist. Okay. Then we'll take it deeper, reach over and take your hand behind their shoulder blade and pull their shoulder towards you. And then you can start to walk your hands down their side body, kind of sweeping towards you and getting the twist to go into different areas. And then you roll on back. Okay, and then from here, straighten the legs. And then sit up by your partner's head. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your hands underneath their shoulders, right between their shoulder blades, and you just kind of want to scoop all that junk out that gets caught up between the shoulder blades. So you're just kind of sweeping like this, kind of scooping it all right out towards you. And then you come up and you let the scooping start to happen from the base of the neck, from the shoulders up into the neck. And then take your 2 fingers like this right up under the base of the head, under the occipital ridge. And just kind of let the fingers sink in there and kind of jiggle around really slightly, like you're trying to get the fingers to sink underneath the base of the skull, where the skull meets the neck. Okay, and then take your hands and start to squeeze around the ears. First start to squeeze and crinkle up the earlobes, and then around the helix of the ear. Then you kind of scrunch up the ears. And then take your fingers, this is called shampoo, where you start to dig your fingers into their scalp and massage the scalp. Okay, and then take your 2 index fingers right at the base, the top of the nose where it meets the eyebrows, and you just kind of trace your fingers around the line of the eyebrows until you get to the temples. And when you get to the temples, kind of circle your fingers around. And then take your fingers up to the scalp line, where the scalp line should be, and you string your fingers down there and then circle them around the temple again. And then start off at the base of the nose and you swing your fingers down to the temples, circle around, and then start to pinch around the chin. Okay, and then take your index finger and middle finger and circle around the temples. Okay, and then take your hands in front of your heart and bow your head. And we send your partner metta, which is loving kindness. So send your partner loving kindness. And they will receive that as well as your touch.
This is the point at which I always say, okay, we're done, right? But we're not. So switch roles. The new receiver now onto the belly. And the new giver behind their feet. I'll give you a little minute to get settled. So remember, it's not a big muscular act with your hands or your arms. It's the full weight of your body leaning into the partner. And we start with thumbs into the sole of the foot. And you just lean in, linger for a moment at the bottom of the lean, and then come back out. And then move your thumbs to another position in the arch. Lean in, linger, come back out. A few more times in the arch of the foot, lots of juicy spaces into which you can pour your attention. Leaning in, lingering, coming back out. Give a few extra pushes of the thumb into the foot, and then grab the other foot. Same thing, let the weight of your body do the work. Let gravity be in your favor, to sink in, to linger, and release. To sink in, to linger, and release. Find lots of little spots. Every spot is going to feel different for you and for the person whose foot it belongs to. Leaning in, lingering, and releasing. Letting gravity do most of the work. And you, as the giver, are just a conduit for the energy that's moving through us all the time, no matter what we're doing with it. So, to the extent that we can be at ease in our role as a conduit for universal energy, is the extent to which we can be at ease with the circumstances that arise that we are not choosing, that we don't want. So rather than resisting against what we can't change, we just find ways to find ease. Okay, so now bend both of their knees, cross the ankles, and then bend the knees more as you push forward with your hands and your weight into their legs. And then do that 2 more times. Unbend and rebend, pushing forward, leaning in, and release. And then 1 more time. Bending, leaning in, and release. And then we switch the cross so the other ankle is on top. And then again 3 times. Bend to lean in and release. 2 more. Last one. And release. Okay, and then uncross the ankles and rest their feet back on the floor. And then come over to one side. And then you cross one leg over, so the foot comes to the floor. And then when Amir did this to me, he had one hand on the floor, and he had the opposite hand on the floor, and he was leaning his elbow into the inner knee. For me, my arms aren't as long as his, and my body's not as big, so I find it a little easier to let gravity do this work if I use 2 hands to lean in to the heels of my palms, which are on the side of his back, not on the spine, but on the side. And then once I'm at the bottom of the lean, I give a little twist, the heels of the palms, and then release. And then I'm just gonna work my way up the back. So I'm leaning in, letting gravity drop the energy into his back. And at the bottom of the drop, I give a little twist with the heels of the palms and then release. So the pattern is repetitive. It's the lean, it's the linger, the twist, and the release. All the way up. Once you get up near the shoulder blade, if you can get the heels of your palms on the inside of the scapula, right next to the spine, and dig in under there, that's a really juicy spot. Lean in, sink, and release. And then you do the other side. You just flip over, pivot to the other knee, start at the bottom, the base of the spine, lean in, sink, twist, and release. So I'm really not doing very much work. I'm just changing my position relative to his receptive back. And then the energy is doing the rest of it. Lean in, linger, twist, release. In the ideal state, the giver is not really feeling much taxing on their body, just changing position. Finding that juicy spot inside the scapula, right next to the spine, sinking in, linger, twist, and release. And then come and sit on the back of the pelvis, right at the base of the spine. Receivers, interlace your fingers behind your own head. And then givers, lean forward and reach underneath the upper arms closer to the elbows. And everybody together takes a deep breath in. And everybody together exhales as the giver leans back and raises the upper torso back into an easy cobra. And then release as you inhale. And then on the exhale, lift and lean back. And release. So here I am exerting a little bit of muscular energy because it's a lot to lift. One more time. Everyone inhales together. And on the exhale, leaning back, lifting, and releasing. And of course, the receiver is telling you, hopefully, whether it's too much or not enough. And then take your hands and find the juicy spot in the tops of the shoulders. Get into the flesh. Dig your thumbs in. Usually this is the spot that can withstand the most deepest pressure because it's the place where we hold so much tension. And there's admittedly a lot to be tense about right now, so don't hold back. Dig in, squeeze, go down the arms. All the way down. And then take your hands and just sweep down the back 3 times, long strokes. Time for the PTO. Please turn over. So Amir is going to turn onto his back. And I'm going to go back and sit by his feet again. So he's going to have one knee bent. And that's the leg that we're going to work on to start with. So we start with the calf split. The fingertips go behind the calf and you're pulling the 2 sides of the muscle apart from each other. And again, how deep you dig your fingers depends on how tight the person's calf is. And you can feel that for yourself once you get in there. If there's a lot of resistance, that's a sign that you can go pretty deep because they're going to be tight. If it feels loose and fleshy and soft, then you probably don't need to dig in very much. Take a few sweeps up and down. And then the citrus press. So you lace your fingers together and the heels of your palms squeeze together like you're squeezing, like you're taking lemons and making lemonade. All right, so lacing the fingers together behind the calf and then squeeze the heels of your palms together as you're pulling the flesh of the calf away from the bone, all the way down as close as you can get to their ankle. The flesh starts to narrow and thin out. The closer you get to the foot, do a few more times, up and down. And then sweep down the calf. Citrus press on the thigh. Same thing on the top of the leg. So you're finding the flesh of the muscle. You're squeezing the heels of your palms together and pulling the flesh away from the bone. Up and down the thigh a few times. Starting closer to the knee, working your way up toward the hip. And then sweep your hands on the thigh. Hurricane kick. So this is the one where we lift the foot, knee bends, and the knee goes out to the side. And then the giver sits down, and you'll take your heel that's closer to their bent knee and fix it behind the knee. You can use the heel or you can use the mound of the foot, whichever one. And then you take your free hand and hold their opposite ankle. And now you've got one remaining free limb, and that's your other leg. So you take that leg with your heel or the ball of the foot, either one, and then press that into the back of their thigh, into the hamstrings. And I'm going to lean back a little bit because my legs are not as long as his. So when I lean back, that gives me a little better leverage to press into the back of his thigh. So the foot that's behind the knee is not doing anything except stabilizing. And it's the other foot that's doing the work. release, and then take the foot of the bent knee and just put it inside the straight leg knee like a reclining tree pose. And then I'm going to climb over onto the straight leg side, setting up for the diva twist. So I take my foot that's closer to his feet, and again, fixing my heel behind his bent knee. And then I reach across for his opposite arm. And he is not going to lift his head. He's going to keep his neck relaxed. And I'm going to lean back and pull him toward me so he's in a twist. Then I'm going to take my hand that's closer to the leg side, reach it over around and grab a hold of the back. And then I've got him behind his back, so I can take my other hand and use two hands to pull on the side of the back up toward the ceiling and toward the side of the torso, all the way up and down. Few times up and down the back. Everybody's purring. And then release. So put the arm back where it is. And now we're back to the beginning of this sequence where the other knee is bent. And we split the calf. Not really. Just enough to feel good. So fingertips behind the fleshy part of the calf, one on each side, pulling apart as you dig in a little bit. And once again, it's body weight. So if I lean back a little bit and just fix my fingers behind the calf, I can go pretty far into that flesh spread. And then sweep the hands down the back of the calf. And then set up for the citrus press. So lacing the fingers together behind the calf and squeeze the heels of the palms into the flesh, pulling it away from the bone. Take a few circuits up and down the calf. And then hands down the back of the calf. Citrus press on the thigh. Squeeze, pull, release. Squeeze, pull, release. A few times up and down. And then sweep the hands down the thigh. All right, so hurricane kick, foot lifts up, the knee turns out. I sit down, I fix my foot behind the knee and keep holding his ankle. I grab his other ankle, I take my free leg, and I put that foot heel or mound of the toe, mounds of the toes to press into the back of his thigh. My other foot that's behind his knee is just serving as a stabilizing force. Giving one little extra lean. And then releasing, take the bent knee. And Amir is going to turn around and you stay where you are. Put the bent knee into a reclining tree pose position. So that same knee that was bent before is bent now out to the side. I'm taking my foot that's closer to his feet, stepping it over his straight leg, fixing my foot behind his knee, reaching over for the opposite arm and pull back. He's going to let his head relax. I'm leaning back. And then I'm going to take one hand free and reach it over behind his back and pull the back up. And then the other hand, I'm pulling up. All the way up and down the back. Always good to stay focused on your own breath. And maybe you notice it aligning with your partner's breath. And then release. And then he can straighten both legs. Then I'm going to come around and sit behind his head. And make sure, givers, when you're sitting here, that you're sitting in a way that feels supported for your knees, for your hips, for your spine. Taking my hands, pretending that giving him a little shampoo. And then taking the fingertips and digging underneath the upper back, behind the shoulders, and pulling out the tension. And then sweeping the fingertips as they're continuing to dig in all the way up the neck to the base of the skull, giving it a little traction, pulling back, and squeezing into the shoulders a little bit, pulling back some more. I'm lifting his head a little bit away from the floor, but he's letting his head still drop. So receivers, don't try to help here. A little bit more shampoo. Grab the ears, pull the edges of the ears out, and the earlobes all the way up to the tops. And then scrunch the ears up. And then take your fingertips to the brow, the center between the eyebrows at the top of the nose, and draw a line up over the eyebrows and down to the temples. And then circle your fingertips in the little divot of the temples, around and around a few times in each direction. You can improvise a little bit with your thumbs running up and around on the forehead. And take your fingertips just on either side of the nostrils and draw a line around the bottoms of the cheekbones and back up, sweeping up to the temples. And you can just follow the line of the bone. And then the jaw, squeezing the jaw all the way around. And take your thumbs anywhere where it seems like they would be welcome on the face. And then bring your hands together at your heart and send waves of loving kindness to your partner. And then partner's going to roll to the side and come up to sit. And just come to sit together. You can face each other. Bring your palms together at your heart. And just take a moment to acknowledge that the more time we're all spending at home together, the more challenging it might be. And just stream some patience, some compassion, some tenderness, some care. And then just turning toward each other here in this platform to say thank you and to wish you all well and to wish you all patience and ease, and that we take each day as it comes with deep breaths, patience, sweetness, and hoping for better days to come. Thank you so much for joining us. Namaste.